All right, it is Monday, October 26th. I'm Tom Novak. This is your Bring Me the News and Novak Weather Update. We're going to be talking about a big change, major changes in our weather pattern here. Not as much this week, but as we head towards this weekend and into this weekend, and then much of next week. So if you're tired of the cold, if you're tired of the snow, I've got great news for you. But first things first, here's the snow that occurred over the weekend. And look at this, North Dakota, northern Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin, pretty much void of any snow over the weekend. The accumulating snow stayed basically along and south of the Minnesota River and along that I-90 corridor in southern Minnesota. Rochester picked up about 2.5 inches of snow, just a little bit, tiny bit of snow, about a half an inch or so in the Twin Cities metro. But again, that I-90 corridor, the areas that did not receive much snow last week are the ones that picked up the accumulating snow, and most of it happened yesterday, of course, with a solid 1 to 4 inches across much of the southern 1/4 of Minnesota, especially yesterday. So pretty much all of the state now has at least a little bit of snow on the ground, and you can see that now on this visible satellite. Look, very interesting. You can see the movement, the white areas that are showing movement, those are low clouds in our atmosphere, some low stratocumulus clouds that have developed today. But the areas of white that you don't see moving, that's snow cover on the ground. So look at this, much of South Dakota, extending east into Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin, has snow on the ground. The only places that look to be void of snow are up here in northeastern North Dakota and extreme northwestern Minnesota. Otherwise, quite a bit of snow, which is quite odd for this time of the year. For mid to late October, it's odd to have snow on the ground over such a large piece of real estate, but that's what we've got. Good news is if you don't like the snow, you can say goodbye to it, because I think we are going to be experiencing quite a bit of warm air that's going to melt this snow here as we head into this weekend. And then certainly next week. Why is that? Well, here's the river of air at 30,000 feet. We call this the jet stream. Look at where our winds are coming from as we go through this week. For the most part, from northwest to southeast across the upper Midwest. So yes, we're going to have cold Canadian air around through Thursday, the way it appears, with below average temperatures. But watch what happens as we get into this weekend. This is Friday and now Saturday. It becomes quite apparent that our winds turn to a more west and southwesterly direction. That's going to let winds from the Rocky Mountains compress and then head east in the upper Midwest. Those are warm winds. We call them Chinook winds. And they're going to be affecting us here, especially as we get into Saturday. And not only Saturday, but then as we head into much of next week. Look at how the jet stream surges well north of the upper Midwest and is situated over southern Canada. That's going to let warm air come up out of the desert Southwest north into much of the upper Midwest. In fact, much of the country, I think, is going to be warm as we head into next week. And it does start this weekend. But until then, we got to put up with some cold air. Here are the temperatures in the lower layers of our atmosphere. And look, for the most part, we have fairly cold Arctic air over the upper Midwest and much of the northern and eastern portions of the United States through later this week. But watch what happens as we get into Friday and Saturday. Look at how the warm air starts to surge northeast from the Rocky Mountains and desert Southwest. That means we're going to be above average for temperatures the way it appears on Saturday. Yeah, we get a little bit of cool air that comes in on Sunday, but then look at what happens next week. Look at this amazingly warm air mass that heads into the upper Midwest. In fact, much of the country as we get into the middle and early and middle portions of next week. I'm talking about temperatures probably at the surface that are going to be a good 10 to 20 degrees above average as we get into the first week or two of November. In fact, the Climate Prediction Center shows that that first week in November is looking really warm from Minnesota on west to the Pacific Ocean. And it also looks dry with hardly any precipitation expected over the country as we head into Halloween weekend, which would be this weekend, and then much of next week. And then as we head into the 8 to 14 day outlook, this would be the second week of November. Take a look at this warm surge of air over much of the country for that second week in November. Not only will it be warm, but it will also be dry. So if you're tired of this cold and snowy weather pattern that we've been in here over the last week to 10 days, I've got great news for you as we start a significant warm-up not only this weekend, but then into much of next week. In fact, look at this. I'm expecting temperatures almost 10 degrees above average as we get into Saturday. And then, yes, another major warm up. And this could be a fairly prolonged warm up as we head into much of next week. Until then, though, yeah, we have to put up with about 3 to 4 days of colder than average temperatures. But like I had mentioned, it looks like it's going to be dry through at least the next 7 days. All right, that's your forecast. I hope everybody has a great week. We will talk to you tomorrow.